You are 20 years old and you have $340 in your account, and it feels like either everything or nothing depending on the hour. In the morning, it feels like freedom. By midnight, it feels like a countdown. You haven't noticed yet that this is the pattern, that the number in the account and the feeling in your chest are two separate things, and that they will spend the rest of your life refusing to line up. You think the goal is to get the number higher. You think when the number is high enough, the feeling will finally arrive. The calm, the safety, the exhale. It won't. Not the way you think. Here's the thing nobody tells you at 20, and the thing that would change everything if they did. Your relationship with money is not built out of money. It is built out of the story you tell yourself about money. And that story gets written young, in a currency of fear or scarcity or shame that has almost nothing to do with your actual bank balance. There are people with $12 million who feel poor. There are people with $12,000 who feel free. The number is not the thing. The number was never the thing. This is a story about the number and the feeling that keeps refusing to match it and what actually changes across 4 decades. Not your income, your mind. 20, the age of the invisible tomorrow. At 20, money is fuel and nothing else. It exists to be converted immediately into experience, into a night out, into a jacket, into the version of yourself you're auditioning to become. You are not being reckless. You are doing exactly what a 20-year-old brain is built to do. The future is a rumor. Retirement is a word old people use. The idea that you should send money to a version of yourself 40 years away feels roughly as urgent as mailing a letter to a stranger on another continent who may or may not exist. So you don't. And that's not the mistake. Everyone does this. The mistake is the belief underneath it. The quiet assumption that there will always be more time, more money, more chances. That belief feels like optimism. It's actually the most expensive thing you own. It's the belief that lets you treat every dollar as replaceable, because in your mind, the supply is infinite. Your mindset at 20 is the tap never runs dry. Hold that, because in about 10 years, life is going to test it. 30, the age the future stops being a rumor. You are 30 and something has shifted, and you can't point to the exact day it happened. Somewhere in here, the future got a face. Maybe it's the friend who got laid off and didn't recover for a year. Maybe it's the parent whose retirement looked thinner than you expected up close. Maybe it's the first medical bill that arrived with a number on it that made your stomach drop. Maybe it's just the math finally becoming real. The realization that if you keep spending exactly what you earn, you will keep earning exactly so you can keep spending forever until you can't. The rumor became a deadline, and the tap never runs dry belief cracks. This is where 2 different people are born from the same person. One of them panics. The scarcity story roars to life. I'm behind, I'm broke, I'm never going to catch up. And panic makes terrible decisions. It chases returns. It buys things it can't evaluate because it's desperate to close a gap. It treats money like an emergency, and an emergency is a bad state to make 30 years of decisions from. The other one gets specific. Instead of a feeling, I should save more, they build a number. They automate a transfer of $300 the day after payday, before the money has a chance to become dinner. They stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking, what is this costing the version of me at 60? They don't get calm. They get deliberate. The fear is still there. They just put it to work. The mindset that survives your 30s is not, don't be afraid. You will be afraid. The mindset is, let the fear point somewhere useful. Fear is a compass, or it's a cage. At 30, you find out which one you built. 40, the age of the comparison trap. You are 40 and you're doing fine, and it doesn't feel like fine because everyone around you appears to be doing better. This is the decade the comparison arrives, and it arrives loud. The neighbor's second car, the college friend who sold something, the cousin's kitchen renovation that cost more than you make in a year. You start running a scoreboard you never agreed to enter, and on that scoreboard, you are always somehow losing. Here's what the scoreboard doesn't show you. It doesn't show the debt behind the second car. It doesn't show the marriage strain behind the renovation. It doesn't show that the friend who sold something also sold his sleep, his weekends, and the version of himself his kids remember. You are comparing your entire interior, your fears, your balance, your quiet 2 a.m. calculations against everyone else's exterior. That is not a fair fight. That was never a fair fight. You are grading your rough draft against everyone else's highlight reel. And here's the part that stings. The comparison doesn't just make you unhappy, it makes you poorer. It's the single most expensive mindset of your entire life because it converts a stable, functional financial life into a feeling of failure. And a feeling of failure spends money trying to fix itself. You buy the thing to feel level. You upgrade the car to close a gap that only exists in your head. The scoreboard is not just painful, it has a price, and you pay it monthly. The mindset that wins your 40s is brutal in its simplicity. You are not in a race with them. You are in a race with the version of you that spends money to feel adequate. That version is the opponent, not the neighbor. The neighbor doesn't even know you're competing. The reframe nobody talks about. Here's what the money advice skips because it doesn't fit on a graphic. The person who starts thinking clearly about money at 40 is not a failure who wasted 20 years. They are often a better steward of money than the person who got it easy and young. Not because they're smarter, because they're calibrated. They've felt real scarcity, so they don't panic at a bad month. They know the difference between a rough patch and a catastrophe, and that difference is worth more than a decade of head start. They've watched money come and go, so they've stopped believing the number will save them, which means they've stopped chasing the number recklessly. They make fewer catastrophic mistakes, and over a lifetime, fewer catastrophic mistakes beats a fast start almost every single time. The late clarity is not a consolation prize. It's a form of vision the early starter often never develops because nothing ever forced them to see. 50, the age of the honest ledger. You are 50 and the fog clears whether you want it to or not. There is no more pretending the future is far away. It's close enough now to see its face clearly. And this is the age where the number and the feeling either finally start to reconcile or they never will, and you find out which by how you sleep. The person who spent 30 years chasing the number arrives here exhausted. They hit the milestones, the house, the accounts, the round figure they once swore would make them feel safe, and the feeling didn't come. It never comes from the outside. They're standing on the summit they aimed at their whole life, and the calm they were promised isn't there, because calm was never a balance. It was a mindset they refused to build while they were busy building everything else. The person who worked on the relationship while they worked on the money arrives differently. They don't have infinite wealth. They have something rarer, enough, and the ability to feel it. They can look at their accounts without dread. They can spend on what matters and decline what doesn't, not out of anxiety, but out of clarity about what a dollar is actually for. They crack the code that has nothing to do with the balance. That money's real job was never to make you rich. It was to make you free from thinking about it constantly. And freedom from the thought is a thing you build in your head, not in your account. 60. The age the number finally tells the truth. You are 60, and you finally understand the thing the 20-year-old couldn't. The number was never going to give you the feeling. The feeling was always the input, not the output. The people who feel secure at 60 are not the ones with the most. They're the ones who made peace with money as a tool decades ago and stopped asking it to be a therapist, a scoreboard, and a source of self-worth all at once. You look back at 20, at the $340 that felt like everything and nothing, and you realize the tap did run dry sometimes, and you survived every time it did. You look at 30, at the fear that became a compass. At 40, at the scoreboard you finally walked away from. At 50, at the ledger you learned to read without flinching. And you understand that the whole time, through every decade, you are building two things at once: an account and a mind that could hold it. And only one of them ever actually let you sleep. There is a younger person in your life now, 22 maybe, broke and certain and spending like the tap runs forever. They ask you what they should do with money, half hoping you'll say something they can ignore. You could give them a number, a percentage to save, an account to open. But you know now that the number isn't the lesson, so you tell them the real thing. The goal was never to get rich enough to feel safe. It was to stop believing that safety was a number in the first place. They won't fully hear it, 20 never does. But you tell them anyway, because someone should have told you. And the telling is the only part of your wealth you can actually hand to another person. And if you're watching this at 20 or 30 or 40 or wherever your feet are standing right now, this is the youngest you will ever be again. And the story you tell yourself about money starts getting rewritten the moment you decide it can be. That's the work. That's the whole work. If you want to keep rewriting it with me, decade by decade, mindset by mindset, then stay close. Subscribe, and let's build the version of you that the number can finally catch up to. Because the account was never the point. The account was just the echo of a mind that already knew what it was worth.